Chat, welcome. All four of you out there. I know this is a weird time for any of us to be streaming, but hopefully we keep this consistent and keep things moving on.
Just to be clear, I lobbied for late in the evening, just to be clear.
When half the world was asleep. Hey, chat, so first things first, I want to introduce everybody. We got Josh, we got Bitcoin Schmitcoin. I'll let each of them say their howdies and introductions. But also, I was sick as a dog yesterday, late last night, so apologies for my voice and everything. So, Josh, you want to say your howdies?
Sure, yeah. Josh, CryptoJack, I've been here since 2013. Well, a decade now. Crazy. Time flies. We were sharing some war stories in the pre-show, and it's funny how you remember certain things and don't remember other things. But yeah, done analysis, research, trading, prop trading. Currently on the research side and trading side at Valkyrie Digital Assets. So we put out weekly pieces, monthly pieces, videos, charts of the day, which I find enjoyable. That's why I do them on our Twitter. So check all that out. And yeah, hopefully, Jack and Schmitty, we align on analysis a lot. And I think we have a lot to bring as a group to everybody.
Nicely said and agreed with all. Schmitty, you want to take it?
Sure. I'm sure most of the people that watch your stream, there's cross pollination with mine. So I'm probably just speaking to the choir here, but I have been around since so funny story. I'll go ahead and give a quick piece of history. I first got involved with crypto when I first looked at the price of Bitcoin. It was like 2013 or whatever it was, and it was double digits. And I remember telling myself, I was like, this is way too expensive. I was like, I should not be buying this. This is way too expensive. So I set a notification on some random app on my phone that was like, alert me when Bitcoin drops 50% or something like that. And it didn't drop 50% like in whatever time span I set it to. And so when Bitfinex got hacked. And so Bitfinex getting hacked is what got me in the game. And I've been here ever since. So 2016 was when it got hacked. And yeah, I've been posting charts of the day. I have wavering presence on Twitter and the YouTubes and Twitch. I used to stream a lot back in the day. I'm starting to get back into it. And yeah, the space has changed a lot. Mostly in terms of like the tools that are available, because the tools were very primitive back in the day in terms of like how you even view information. And it's cool that, we even have these streaming tools available. I don't even think Streamlabs was invented back then. So yeah.
It's a true story. The first group I was a part of was on TeamSpeak. No shit. No one even knows what that is anymore, probably.
Yeah, that's pre-Discord, right?
Yeah, pre-Discord, pre-fun.
yeah.
But no, TeamSpeak was good. Reddit was okay in the early days.
Yeah.
Fire, but
yeah. I don't know what happened to Reddit, but that used to be like my go-to spot. Before I even got on Twitter, like I was always posting. I feel like the space used to just be nicer. Like I feel like people just used to be way nicer and way cooler.
Well, we got bigger. There's more scams. There's more eyeballs. There's more just people who shouldn't be here.
Everything is just like more polarizing in general too, as we went through COVID and the election.
Yeah, more tribalism.
Yeah, right. But Schmitty, that's where you and I met. Actually, was on Reddit. That's where we got connected.
Yeah. So fun fact, Jack was my first moderator on stream. I think you either DM me on Twitter or something. And you're like, hey, I moderate for some people's streams. And I was like, okay, I guess I should probably get a moderator. I guess that sounds like I know what I'm doing if I get one. So he was my first moderator. And here we are. 6 years later.
Look at us now.
Look at how far we've come. Right.
Did we tweet this out, by the way? Did people know?
Yeah, I just said we're live. Chat was making fun of me for my low effort tweet, but if you guys want to tweet something out too, you can.
What? I don't see anything. See y'all in an hour.
No, then I retweeted one and I said tweet? We're live. Did I not? Did I not send it? I thought I did.
You didn't tag me in it if you did.
No, it's fine.
All right, whatever.
Yeah, the funny part is here's the funniest part. Like I'll watch your stream, I'll watch other people's streams, my stuff. Like I'll start with like this amazing analysis, or you guys will start with this amazing analysis of like Bitcoin and like break it down multiple time frames, multiple indicators, like near term, long term analysis. And then somebody's like, hey, can you look at some random shitcoin? I just don't get it. I mean, I can understand the mentality based on seeing like so many cycles. It's what is that, Eternal November or whatever that thing is?
Yeah, right.
Where it's like if people just pay attention to like the very basic analysis that all three of us do on a daily basis, like they could easily apply that to anything, right? Any traditional market, any shitcoin, whatever it is. And it's that simple, right? You have that, you learn how to fish. You don't just get given a fish, and that way you can make your own decisions, right? That's what this is all about.
No, that's effort though. That's too much effort, guys.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a good segue to Josh, when you start your day, like what is it? Do you have like a systematic like order of operations when you're like, I look at this chart, then that chart, then this chart? Or like do you just kind of just like what is your like beginning of day routine in terms of like breaking down what you're looking for?
Yeah. First I go to the gym. No, I'm kidding. I wish. One thing I like about your stream, to focus on you for a second, is you did do this like notepad of like trading notes, right?
Yeah.
Everybody who's listening who hasn't seen Schmitty's streams, like that's so critical for people who aren't used to that, like that type of discipline. You just keep yourself honest and like understand your process as far as what you're thinking. And then you can look back at that like years later. Like that's why I started the YouTube channel, because it acted as my like trading journal. Anyway, so when I wake up, I have a Bitcoin checker on my phone. I've had that for God knows how long time. Bitcoin checker with Bitcoin and Ethereum prices. I'm honestly surprised it still works. Like I don't know, it pulls off of like Stamp maybe, but I'm surprised the app that works, the API works. I have no idea who's maintaining it. This thing has got to be like a decade old potentially. So that's the first thing I do. I wake up, I swipe down the phone, I look at Bitcoin checker, still on the App Store by the way. And then if there's like a spike in anything or a drop in anything, the CryptoWatch app, I also have alerts set up for that. But then I just open up CryptoWatch, I open up TradingView. I definitely look at Bitcoin every day, instantly when I wake up. Ethereum. I look at crypto equities. That's what we're trading in our hedge fund at Valkyrie. So I'm focused on that a lot as well. But yeah, I mean, the key thing for me is just to look at the same stuff. That's why cloud is so great, because literally at a glance, in a few seconds, you know exactly what's going on. Like that's it. Like there's no like wishy-washy stuff. There's no like, is this wave 6, 7, 10? No subjectivity about it. That's why I like the cloud so much. So
well, Elliot died poor too, so let's not
forget. Did
he? Yeah, that's like the meme. Anytime anybody has an Elliot wave question, I just hit him with that. I don't even know like the reality of it, but that's the meme. But
who's the guy who is like idolized and like committed suicide and died poor?
Livermore?
Yeah, Livermore.
Oh my
gosh. He got rich and died trying twice.
Yeah. It's just it's interesting who we like focus on and idolize as people. Right. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's do this, guys. Let's do this. Josh, I guess let's start with you on the screen share here in just a second. But just let me reset the room because we've like tripled our audience since we first kicked off. Guys, this is our very first Market Power Hour, aka Justice League of Crypto. You guys have to tell us which one you like better. But yeah, so this is going to be a reoccurring thing. We're going to do this every 2 weeks. We're going to do it the first and third Wednesday of the month going forward. And it'll be Josh, Schmitty, and myself. And this will, people have referred to us as the new Up Only. And I hope that's not.
I don't think they have.
One guy in chat. No. One guy in chat said that.
One
so
guy.
That makes it. That's like you've made it. So anyway, chat. Real quick, I guess let me do my little intro and then we'll kick it over to Josh and he'll kick things off. So I am CryptoJack. I've been streaming for a little less than 2 years and it's been a fun ride. We've done all kinds of fun stuff. But one thing that sets, I think, myself as well as these guys apart from a lot of the other content creators is we focus on charts. We focus on, what is different technical setups say. And if you if you look at some of these old, like what do they call it, the Wall Street psychology charts, there's lots of emphasis on how you feel and what is the market feeling at the moment. So there's lots of groups that will focus on that. But like on our side, we like to stick to the charts 9 times out of 10, and then kind of sprinkle in some other things that are going on as well. So, but thank y'all for being here. Again, this is our inaugural deal. We'll keep fine tuning things as we go. Just like, maybe this is not the best viewing screen as we speak. I'll figure something out. But anyway, thank y'all for being here. Yeah, Josh, let's kick it over to you.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to organize all my tabs here.
Sure.
You can see that, right? The Zoom stuff, by the way, is so boomer. They should change it to boomer. What is this?
Yeah. By the way, guys, I'm gonna move so I have my little face cam on for the stream that like only chat can see. I'm gonna move myself down to bottom right, just FYI. So like bottom right portion is a little bit of face. There we go. Okay.
Quick question before we start, because I just want to confirm Zoom tech here. Can you guys see this? This?
I see Josh's screen. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
You're writing on Josh's chart?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty
I take
cool.
it all back. Zoom long.
Zoom is
long
awesome.
10x long. 10x
Yeah.
long.
This is like the MS DOS of screen share. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I was thinking about the YouTube stuff. I think I started around the Bitfinex hack. It had to have been. It was at least 6 years ago. So it's been a long time. But what do we want? Do we want to go high time frame, guys? What do you think?
Well, this is your little segment.
Well, sometimes I just pull up the chart and just look at the candles.
Yeah.
I just like to.
Sure.
I mean, they're beautiful.
When you
they are beautiful.
You start to gather this buffet of like knowledge, right? In technical analysis, I feel it's like Jack's really good at Wyckoff, and I don't know. I just think when I think of Jack, I think of Wyckoff. Schmidt's really good at cloud and like me, like just really good at being consistent. Jack's also very consistent, but Jack talks a lot about candles as well, as does Schmidt. It's just funny how we all it's like we went to the same school at the same time and like graduated and now we're all here. But yeah, so like we can focus on high time frames or whatever you want. I think our main focus generally is Bitcoin. That's kind of what leads the show as far as price action. I think that might change on the 12th when ETH goes staking, gets unlocked, whatever. But so when I'm looking at like weekly candles, in these past 3 weeks, I think all three of you guys have pointed this out, or all two of you guys, that this is a bunch of doji nonsense, doji party, whatever you want to call it. Generally, it just means indecision, right? So anytime, like, I think any of us, again, are looking at this, we're thinking, okay, what is the opportunity here? Is there a bias? What's the trade? What's the market sentiment generally? Like, is it leaning one way or the other? Just irrespective of like, the meat space, what's going on. So the dojis, don't really tell us much of anything, but anytime you see a doji, generally just means, like I said, indecision or just sideways. And usually when you see dojis on lower time frames, this is CryptoWatch, by the way, but on lower time frames, you're seeing some sort of, consolidation, or Jack might draw this as a horizontal, maybe you could argue ascending triangle here, and this is where you start to learn like different shapes. It's kind of like going back to kindergarten. You're putting the round peg in the square hole, and you're like, nope, that's not it. Pattern recognition. So I've seen this specific, consolidation drawn out as an ascending triangle. I think that's fine. From there, it's just pretty like basic, right? You're just like, oh, we just measure the depth higher. That's the potential breakout. What we want to see is a high volume move above whatever that horizontal is. It doesn't really matter, 29, whatever that is. And then, you could, like Schmidt does in his streams, he just takes notes, right? He's like, okay, 4 hour, blah, 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 right? Weekly, blah, 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 and then you just go around the horn, right? And you just make your decisions from there. I don't really care about volume too much. Do you guys care about volume?
I do. I care about volume a lot.
The problem with crypto volume is it's mostly nonsense.
Yeah.
Which
So
exchange do you prefer?
So the only exchange that I value their volume on is Coinbase.
Okay.
And that's because there's no margin there. At least I don't think there is. And if there is, it's like very, very tiny. It's like an insultingly small amount of margin.
Yeah. True.
And they actually have trading fees. Where things get murky is like on Binance, for example, where they have zero trading fees. It's like, oh, you can see like the very like discrete point in time where they initiated zero trading fees because their trading volume just goes to like 4x
To
or something like
infinity.
that.
No, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and then of course you have this news that, surprise, surprise, CZ was wash trading or trading against his clients or whatever the accusations are. It's
Which
like,
I think
of
we've
course.
all joked about that for like ever. Like that's the
Yeah.
open secret.
It's been a non-secret open secret
Yeah.
since I can remember. Like this isn't like a surprise to anybody who's been here for 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
like them going after them for that, sure. Like yeah, it's obviously been happening for a very long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will agree with you that feeless trading is pretty much useless. It's kind of like looking at on-chain activity for feeless chains. It doesn't really tell you anything because it could be spam. It could be just some guy having fun on the weekend.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? Like you can't really take it seriously.
Some guy having fun of them.
Yeah, like you could spin up like spin up some project on EOS, right? And just spam the chain. Nobody would care, nobody would know, like hundreds of millions of transactions, not that many, but you get the point,
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. I like the idea of looking at venues with fees, Coinbase being one of them.
Yeah.
Onshore US, also a good idea.
Yeah.
But there's a time and a place to look at like BTC JPY or like, so I wouldn't have people like get married to a specific exchange for specific reasons, because there's a time and a place to look at other pairs as well, BTC Euro, that sort of thing. I know you guys look at that stuff as well. Just going on a tangent, but when I'm talking about high volume, you want to see, can I do this on the, I think so. You'd want to see some sort of decent volume breakout on the 4-hour. I know I'm bouncing around timeframes. If you're a true master of technicals, you start with the weekly, right? You say, okay, there's something here, obviously. And we could take it back to this moment, which I think we all agree on. I know Jack, I think he was talking about it very early. Where's the freehand tool? I'm trying to find it. Trying to learn CryptoWatch better.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to move my camera to bottom left. I think that'd be
sorry. I'll move everything over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think all three of us were talking about some sort of something, with head and shoulders.
Sure.
I think all of everybody anywhere was looking at this, thinking, yeah, right. But this goes back to like that pattern matching thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I saw a bunch of people posting that out of nowhere, I was like, oh, this isn't gonna work. Because a lot of times when you see really obvious clean patterns, they don't actually work out the way you think they're going to. But it did, it broke out to the top.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, but I don't ever like psych myself out and think, oh, this is so obvious. It's never gonna happen, right? I just like it's just black or white, right? Like, is it a possibility? Sure. Like, is the volume a complete mess? Like, what you want to see again is this like declining volume over time with a breakout on the shoulder, which you arguably didn't really see. Anyway, so we got this stuff going on the weekly, and then you can get fancy with it and go to different panels or panes, right? And I'm just going to do everything on here. But anyway, this is the weekly, this is the target, and you ask yourself, what's the risk reward up here if you're trading this relative to the breakout, right? I think we all agree that the risk reward is not as good as it was down here, like 25, right? But for me, this is still like the zone where it would make sense for price to attempt a move up there, and this is before I even start talking about the cloud, but we can turn on the cloud and we can see on the weekly, right? There's also a level there. This is the doubled cloud, by the way. I know it's a very sensitive topic for some of us, but it, like, I don't care what the settings of the cloud are, right? Like whatever works for you is totally fine. So you should never harass somebody and say these are what they should be for crypto. Like, I don't know who started that, but people are very passionate. Anyway, so we got a chart pattern with a target here. We got the cloud EGN up here, 32, 33, whatever it is. That's a decent spot. You know, there's pivots up there. There's all sorts of stuff. The other thing I think everybody's focusing on is, you know, this daily. I say everybody, the true people, the cloud people. Like, we know who they are. We're focused on this C clamp, right? And I know Schmitty's talked about it. C clamp is literally like that physical thing that you put on your desk or a workbench, right? Looks like a C, has a clamping mechanism. Anyway, you know, you can see these over and over again in the cloud system. We saw one here, right? And things pulled back. So that's the bearish, you know, counter narrative. The 200-week moving average is down there as well at 25. There's a bunch of stuff, but so for me, those are the two things I'm focused on right now. Are we going to move higher based on high time frame stuff, or do we have like a meaner version in the making here, which would totally be fine, you know, right? Again, something I think we've all talked about is like 25, then 33, right? Whatever it is, trend is still fine. There's also this megaphone thing that I think we've all talked about as well, right? Can I just do this? Oh, nice.
Clean.
And how that fits in with all this, which I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen megaphones on crypto like that often. Have you?
And now they're like everywhere.
We've seen some that are like this. Can I draw? Can I do this? Some that are like this, like the descending kind.
Yeah. Okay.
The blow out to the bottom and then break out to the top. We've seen stuff like that. But I've never seen one that's like symmetrical like this before.
Yeah, it's like so perfect. And it tapped the 200-day moving average, went through the cloud. All sorts of weird stuff. Something else that Schmitty has talked about is this, and I'm gonna cheat and just use a weird time frame, but basically this singled weekly edge to edge move to 32 as well. So I think all this is fair game, you know. I think this chart really sets the tone. Bitcoin is up 72% in Q1. It's clearly leading everything across the board. I don't know what else is like even coming close to this in Q1, even against like TradFi stuff. So I think it's leading, you know, it's the pace car or whatever, if you will, right? I think Jack's also talked about, I'm stealing all his analysis. He's also talked about, you know, breaking down below this is like a key area to pay attention to. So I think for a lot of people, they're watching both the diagonal and just this like low time frame, you know, whatever this is. Instead of drawing on this, you can just use the cloud and say, okay, this is the 4-hour cloud. It's
that's nice.
Still holding. But if it starts to fall below, you know, then we get into mean reversion reversal territory, right?
Josh, is that 4-hour with doubled or 4-hour singled?
Right. Do you even have to ask that?
That's okay, Chad. That's doubled. My bad.
No,
it's doubled. Even think about using.
I'm so sorry.
I do on occasion when I see people. I'm like, oh, there's something there, you know. But I know well enough on the doubled settings to like understand what the setups look like, what I'm looking for, right? Like you can use the Chiku lagging span on singled, and I think that would be super helpful for entries and exits. I just don't even bother looking at it, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we're 29 minutes in. Anything else? Yeah. Big topic you want to cover?
No, that's pretty much it. And then, you know, just quickly ETH, which I think we've all said the same thing. I've had the same chart for like 6 months probably, where it's just been, you know, super flat, super rangy, super kind of gross, and not too much exciting stuff going on. H is horizontal. It's been in this range. Now it's pushing on the top of the range.
Yeah, it's a big fat Adam and Eve double bottom.
Yep, there was the Adam and Eve here. You could argue, I think I saw Jack draw this at 1.2, some sort of weird like diagonal thing as like a trailing stop loss maybe for a down move. Yeah, this is inverted head and shoulders here. You'll notice with any of these edge to edge moves on the cloud that there's always usually a chart pattern ahead of that. So knowing both is super helpful. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, for me, that's all I'm looking at. And for ETH, you're just measuring the depth higher, right? And you don't even need to do that early because the cloud is already telling you the level. So that's why we cloud. That's why we cloud.
I like that.
I'll stop talking, but
that's clean.
It's tough because I think we're all just so much on the same page.
Well, I'm about to shit on everyone's parade, so
okay.
Hope you guys are ready.
Another thing, like too, like none of us really use a lot of indicators either. You know, like we're very minimalistic with what we talk about.
Grass fed.
Yeah, antibiotic free.
Do you want to share your screen next, Schmitty or whoever?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how the hell to do it because it's like
go to the very bottom, share screen button, and then you pick your like window.
Oh, I can't do it because
Sorry,
Josh. Oh, okay. So let's see if this
Hand
works.
him the mic.
Share
Josh.
screen. Can you see a Costco chart? Because that's where it all starts.
That's where it starts.
Yeah, it all starts
in the parking lot.
Costco.
Starts with, you gotta find the parking lot first, and then the space, which is that's a whole nother.
Wait, hold on. Wait, freeze. For some reason, when we switched, it's just like a black screen being output now. It got all of Josh's stuff, and now it's just a black screen. So hang on, let me see what's up.
I stopped my share. Should I?
Well, I think it's fair to say you are more bearish in the near term than either of us. Maybe I haven't watched Jack's stuff recently.
Yeah, I would definitely characterize myself that way. Well, or at least bear curious. You know.
There we go. Okay, we're good. Bear
one of the
curious.
things people
You're
need
good.
to. One of the things people need to keep in mind too is like the duration of trades.
Yeah.
The analysts are talking about for themselves isn't necessarily like across the board the same, right? Like, so you might be a shorter duration expecting blah, 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 right? I'm looking at the weekly, I'm talking about 32 by the end of this quarter, right? Like, I'm not really concerned about maybe what happens in the next day, right? Just as an example.
Yeah, I've been starting, you know, it's about to be a bull market when you start getting really annoying comments on your tweets and on your YouTube videos that are like, stupid bear, and it's like, bro, calm down. I just wanted to pull back a little bit. Like,
get him, chat.
Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, you're talking about like a $2,000 dip on a $30,000 asset. People are
it's like, guys, look at every bull run in the history of bull runs. We've always had plenty of opportunities to buy lower. You know. Yeah,
and I know a lot of people that don't really know what they're talking about, like to meme on that too. They're like, oh, this is bullish selling or whatever. But in reality, we actually do want like a more of a tiered approach to markets moving upward, because that means it has cushioning on the ride back. If we go parabolic up, which we'll take a look at on Bitcoin in a second.
Perfect example, the DXY. Look what happened.
Yes, exactly. So on my Dixie chart, and for those who don't know what this is just a dollar index. It's a relative weighting of the US dollar versus other world currencies. This is a really important chart to watch in my opinion. It might arguably be the most important chart to watch, because if you want to like ADIQ all of the markets in general, they fall into two categories. Are they pro dollar or anti-dollar? If the dollar is moving up, generally other assets move down, and vice versa. If the dollar moves down, then everything else goes up. It's kind of like risk on, risk off events. And we can see it quite clearly on this chart here. The entirety of the crypto bear market and the equities bear market, and some metals as well, all took place on this ride up. These are monthly candles. So this is like a huge span of time since 2021 to, January of 2023, basically. And the top of this chart happens right when when all that shit happened with FTX, when it went bust. And we can see here that like this decline on the dollar also corresponded with the move up in Bitcoin. And why I'm even talking about this in the first place is we're at a really crucial. This level is crucial, TM. But in actuality, like this is a really crucial level.
Next month is critical.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Like this move is crucial. What happens here on the dollar is going to tell us a lot about what the next quarter is going to look like for not only crypto, but like most of the other tradable sectors, right? Or tradable assets. And right now we have Dixie sitting on a major level of support. This level of support is almost a decade old. It was prior resistance until ultimately we broke through, and now it's kind of chilling back on top. And what's really important to note is we still have a bullish trend by any objective measure of trend on the monthly. And so what that means is that, things don't just look bearish and then they're bearish, right? They look weak bullish and then they turn bearish and then things kind of follow afterward. And right now, if we get a close below this little level on Dixie, that's a huge indication that we're most likely going to at least retest this level. Here, let me clean up my chart a little bit. At least retest this level, or at best come down here to the bottom of the range. So come down here. And if this happens, if this condition happens on Dixie, that's going to be a major green light for other things to break out like Bitcoin. Now, vice versa, if this thing doesn't break through and we don't get a close below this level on the monthly, and it gets even just a little bit of a bounce, that's probably going to be the pullback that Bitcoin, which I believe Bitcoin is poised to do. And this idea on the Dixie is reflected on the Bitcoin chart. So if we take a look at Bitcoin, let me pull up a different chart here. Can you guys see this, right?
Mm-hmm. Can you go back to the DXY for a sec? Go back to the DXY. Go on like the weekly.
Yeah. So the weekly is decisively a bearish trend, but not a full blown, by my standard, a full blown, quote unquote bear market on the weekly, because you don't have the Kijun punching through the cloud yet. Now it's just like preconditions for a markdown, but it's not, it's like early, it's like flirting with the idea of it, and it's kind of just figuring out what it wants to do.
One other thing I'd add is that could be interpreted as either an inverted cup and handle or some sort of head and shoulders. Like it's not perfect, not where you'd want to see it, but
this thing.
Yeah. So in order for that to fail as a pattern, you need a higher high above the, effectively the right shoulder, 105, whatever that is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Something else about this level that's interesting is that 100 is a huge psychological level as well.
Yes.
So
yeah,
those. That's a good call. It's a good call.
Definitely. Just a more other descriptions of that zone. I agree, it's huge and massive. And one other tipping point too for this could be if the U.S. starts to hold rates at where they are or pull rates back, which probably won't happen for a couple more months, where the Eurozone is needing to raise more with the Fed or their equivalent of the Fed because their inflation's out of control. That's another read on like the dollar. We're also seeing all this, like everybody's dropping the dollar for their own currency, Asia, OPEC countries, blah, 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 right? I don't know how that plays in necessarily, but I can't imagine it's like helpful for the dollar.
Here's an interesting one too. Go to the 3-month, Schmitty.
A 3-month? Is such a thing even possible?
Yeah, it's a quarter.
And in within that box, so once we broke above the midline, going back to like 2014, 2015, if you treat the small green box that you have kind of at the top already drawn in, if you treat that as like the upper bounds and you draw the lower bounds that you said we would go down and retest if we break down, it's almost a sort of distribution within those two, within the box that is not drawn and the one that you already have there. Does that make sense? So basically from like $90 to 100, it's a sort of like Dixie distribution potentially, should it break back down to the lows and then break through the lows. So
yeah, so
it's very interesting to see.
Yeah, I had this channel. I've had this on this descending channel, this thing on my chart for a couple of years now. Because this thing's a dinosaur. It moves slow as the fucking day is long, right? But I was actually thinking this thing was going to you know, if we go back in time, I was thinking right around here, this thing was actually going to break down and we would see a return to the lower bound of the channel. I still believe it's most likely going to return down to the channel at some point. And a lot of that has to do with exactly what Josh was saying. Like, if other countries are starting to settle trades in their native currency, that by default means that there's less demand for the dollar. So just, you know, basic law of supply and demand pushes the market up, supply pushes the market down. Market price is the equilibrium point between supply and demand. If we increase the supply and decrease the demand, that moves charts down, right? So if we see this growing trend like that continue, I would not at all be surprised to see this thing come down here. Now, right now, that probably seems absurd, but you know what? That probably seemed absurd here as well, right? People thought, oh man, dollar is up
to the
only,
moon,
right?
Yeah, 100x.
Yeah, but you know, shit happens, and this
Well, it
was
seemed absurd. Like if you go back in time on a weekly cloud or whatever your version is, monthly. Yeah, pop the cloud on that if you can. And that move, like, yeah, because there was like, you know, again, chart patterns, cloud, blah, 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 applies to all markets. Sounds like a broken record, but anyway, yeah. So before that, this whole move, we had what? An inverted head and shoulders into an edge to edge, into a full-blown cloud breakout, and like boom, right? That's all it took.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's how it is, you know. So that's why it's important to just for the non-cloud people to understand like why we focus on cloud so much is exactly that reason.
It's such a cool visual of a trend.
Yeah, it takes all the guesswork and the interpretation out of it. It's also why I like Bollinger Bands too. Bollinger Bands give you an objective look at what a quote unquote strong trend is, or a weak trend, or the potential for a developing trend to, you know, erupt into the market. It's all visualized on the Bollinger Bands. And right now, what I'm watching and looking for on the Bollinger Bands, if you're a B Bands guy, is I'm looking for a close on this lower band. That sets up a trade similar to like the concept of like an edge to edge, that where like once you close inside the cloud, it has a tendency to run to the other side. Bollinger Bands have a similar setup where once they're squeezed, a close on the upper or the lower band tends to yield the breakout direction. And right now we have really consolidated B bands. We can see it on our Bollinger Band width here on the bottom. This is just the width of the Bollinger Band. So like you can see here, the wider the band is, the higher the indicator. And we can see relative to many, many years before it, it's very consolidated. So we can likely assume that any move that attaches to this lower band, or as John Bollinger calls it, riding the bands, is going to continue a move in that direction. And just like a spring, the tighter the bands are consolidated, or the squeeze is consolidated, the more explosive the bang is on the other side. So here's an example for those who are looking. Like here's the squeeze. You see it on the lower boundary, or on the lower indicator of the Bollinger Band width. And as soon as it gets the attach on the upper band, it yields a move in the upward direction. Now, it also helps with consolidation, right? We see another squeeze and then bang, the next attach on the upper band. It rides the bands all the way up until eventually, you know, it reaches its tipping point and blah, blah, blah. But all of that to say, the dollar is at a really crucial point. And if we can get the nod from the dollar to get just a little bit of a close down here, that might be the juice that Bitcoin needs to explode. Now, I say might because I have a bunch of red flags I'm about to.
There's rain all over the parade.
Just
make it raining. There's clouds. I see them outside. They're forming.
Yeah.
And it's about to pour.
It just as an FYI, we're 44 minutes in right now.
Okay. I'll keep it brief. I'm a really big fan of looking at CME futures charts. CME futures charts tend to filter out a lot of the weekend nonsense. And right now we see a lot of things like there's a Bollinger Bands M top, for example, here, which first target of the M top is the midline. Second target, if it closes below the midline, is the lower band. So we have that. We have the general fact that the Bollinger Bands aren't consolidated at all. So if we're looking at timing in terms of like asking the market, are we ready to move? Bollinger Bands say no, not yet, at minimum. When we slap the cloud on there, I know this is a single setting cloud, but the C clamp is surprisingly the same target as yours. And the C clamp is actually the same target as the doubled settings, which is an interesting point to note. But the other thing too is that we see a lot of divergences as well. So even if you look at something simple like the RSI, all of these highs are diverging, which is just a general visualization of momentum loss or momentum weakening, which and all that says is it, it's like a question and answer. It's like, are we strong? And the answer is no. And the next question is, are we going to pull back? And the answer is maybe. And these are the conditions we look for to see a pullback. So all that to say is like the next week is crucial, TM, because what
Nice.
Dixie decides to do here is going to set the tone for most likely the next quarter. So that's my TED Talk, and thanks for coming.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, and I agree with you on all counts.
All right. So I'm going to try to share my screen through Zoom. We'll see if that works.
Yeah, that is interesting about the B bands though. Like it almost says to me that it's too early to move up more, because we haven't consolidated enough yet. So I do think like going sideways here also very everything you said, like with divs, with the pullback potential, like that affects the risk reward of the leverage or sizing, right? All that needs to be taken into account.
And something else to
So I stopped my shares real quick, sorry, because it was when I'm sharing streaming at the same time, it's cutting out the audio real bad. So instead I'm going to overlay my chart onto the stream, so you'll have to pull my stream up to see. So for whatever reason, Zoom's glitching out.
Short Zoom.
Can I just make one quick point real quick?
Yeah.
I'll bring the screen share, and I promise it'll be like 1 minute tops. I forgot to make this point. So with the B bands on get the hell out of my way. This Zoom tray at the top is blocking me. With the B bands on the C. Oh, it's not pulling up, huh?
It's not even pulling up. No, it's glitched out again.
All right, fuck it.
Maybe we ruined it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. We're good.
Okay.
We can see.
So with the B bands on the CME futures, which again is not traded on the weekend, so the time frame's a little shifted, and thus the B bands are different. You can see that they're quite kind of blown out here, but on spot, this is a really big red flag. The fact that we came up to the upper band and immediately got slapped down. If this thing closes like this is just another thing to add to the list of like, you had all of the potential to break out. Why didn't you do it? Mm-hmm. It was there. Why didn't you do it? So if we get a close on the daily below this midline, that is by Bollinger Band metrics, an objectively bearish trend. Anytime it's above the midline, it's a bullish trend, and below it's a bearish trend. So if we get a close below here, that is going to be an early sign of weakness that the market isn't going the direction that everyone kind of wants to. Anyway, the end.
Got it.
Yeah, I agree.
10-4. All right, so I'm going to throw my window up.
Yeah, Asia has really been like natural buyers lately, and then the US sessions have been natural sellers.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a banking thing or like a regulatory thing, or
that's a weird one. Okay, so a couple things I want to go over. Higher time frame stuff. I really liked this macro falling wedge when we broke out, and since then we've had 2 targets. The first one was this 24 and change, and then the second one's like 33. And this is just from pivots. It's just like 20 IQ way of looking at it. Super simple, super easy. But let's zooming in. This is where things get a little more interesting. And again, chat reminder: we committed to keep this whole thing under an hour. We're at 49 minutes now, so I'm giving kind of the abridged version of everything. Just like Josh had pointed out before, we have, let me turn off the pivots there. Okay.
I've only pointed it out because I stole it from you. So.
Yes, I shamelessly stole it. What I have found very interesting about this particular megaphone, so there's a bullish and a bearish megaphone, but really the big differentiation here is how this upper line, resistance is suddenly support, and I wiggled these earlier. And
right.
Yeah, whatever. Curve fitting, he's curve fitting. All that matters here is a daily close or two down back under this trend line. So trend it however you like. I've seen a lot of people with line charts. I'm completely fine with that. It kind of takes away some of the guesswork. However you want to do it, but for me, for any kind of trade, I am bullish until this is broken. Now, simultaneous to that, which is also something interesting going on, in my opinion, is there's this pretty clear trade range going on, right? So we impulsed up, and then we've just gone to the right 90 degrees. Schmitty is the guy that actually introduced me to Wyckoff, and within the realm of Wyckoff, there's this theory known as like the creek, and it's just this sort of invisible sell pressure that seems to be walking price down. And here we have, a clear example of one, another example of a second. We broke out of it last night and then gave it all back. We're back below it, so that's bummer. So if all you were doing was saying, okay, look, I think we're in a trade range and we had a breakout that failed, we're now back below it, then just 20 IQ take is, hey, look, we're probably going to come back down to these lows. I like running the lows as far as punishing any kind of late longs. But then there's that $1 million, okay, what's next? Like, then what? And I'd like to introduce to the court the conventional labeling of Wyckoff reaccumulation. And what I really like about this is you have a big impulsive move. You have two creeks. Oftentimes there's more, right? But just in this nice little cupcake example, you have these two downtrends. And the sign of things getting very exciting, or like, okay, now you can use some margin or even think about margin or whatever, is with some consolidation at the highs / above the highs. So like think of it as a sign of strength or whatever. But so this is where my eyes are for any sort of like additional trades. So either adding at the lows or taking something as we start breaking out. Breakout traders get rewarded. Everybody wins, right? This is what everybody likes. But again, just like back when we were talking about our megaphone and how price is kind of above it, how any sort of breakdown is like a big red flag. We don't want that. The same thing is going on here. Like any sort of break below this potential range is like something that should not be faded or counter traded or whatever. Now there are examples of a spring actually taking place. So, the markets love to make things not easy on us. That absolutely is a possibility, but you got to have your line in the sand somewhere. You just can't, like, if you're margin long up here and you needed a stop, like, what are you going to say? Infinity? You're just not going to have it. So for me, if I was in any sort of position, I'm cutting them loose with any sort of, break below here, because I'm keeping my mind on both this and how it could be potentially invalidating this whole setup. So that's my, what do you two think about that?
So, no, I agree.
What is your line in the sand? And because go back to your megaphone, Delio.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, on a delay. So where is your line in the sand? Because you're not using the extreme wicks on there.
Right. Right.
So I'm going to go with say it's busted.
Candle close, new low candle close, right? So that's like 27 even. So a daily close at 27 and below, if we find ourselves trending where, the candle close is just some big impulsive thing, then I would have a stop at whatever this low was, like 26.5, something like that.
And would that be confirmation of the bearish megaphone?
That would be, I would say, a confirmation of a failed bullish megaphone, because a bearish megaphone, there's not a lot of this. Like, it's just sort of a ping pong back down consolidation and then go. It's like, think of the inverse of this, where the megaphones that end up failing, we don't typically get 3 weeks of like time spent above a particular level. It may be a day or two, maybe, you know, like one fake out, some debate, whatever. But this is a substantial amount of time to spend up here. So I think this makes a lot more sense. But it can still fail. Not to say that like it has to go up or whatever, but this is where my bias is at the moment.
So what you're telling me is it could go up or down. That's what you're telling me.
I lean up, but I have a line. I have a stop.
That makes me die inside whenever I hear people do that. I'm like, you think you're so fucking clever, don't you?
Yeah, like you give this beautiful, like, amazing analysis, right? And then somebody will just say, "What? Like, what are you paying attention to what I'm saying?"
Yeah, like, so
one thing to simplify that trailing stop loss would be to use the Williams fractals. I don't know if you
know.
What is that?
Yeah, I've seen you use those, but I don't quite know how to use them personally.
Sure. But you know what? That would be a great thing to show us all in our next show 2 weeks from today. We're 55 minutes and 30 seconds in. Last thing I want to show you guys real quick, and this is super quick, is Ethereum on the Bitcoin pair had nice consolidation with a break up. We talked about, like, could this be retesting the breakout line? The other thing that makes a lot of sense as far as like, okay, what if, is a retest of this horizontal, which it literally is sitting at right now. But yeah, if things do get real sweaty, if we can get, we being the Ethereum maxis, if the Ethereum maxis can get some support above these downtrend lines, then yeah, that could get real exciting for them. But until then, you gotta take it, you know, for what it is. It could be support turned resistance with a little retest. Okay, guys.
I don't like. One last thing.
Rotation
trades happen. It's to be expected, right? Bitcoin's up 72%, ETH is up whatever, like, rotation's fine.
Right.
But generally sentiment, when we see like ETH BTC moving like it is, it usually isn't, you know, the smart money rotating around. So
right, I'm with you.
I don't like to see that, but
I'm with you. Okay, so closing thoughts, guys. What do y'all want to say? Do you want to chill your YouTube channels? Anything at all?
I would just say watch those levels. You know, for Bitcoin specifically, anything below 26.5, I think we get into trouble. Alternatively, anything above 28.8, I think we're good to go. It's a pretty tight range here. I think having anything on, like, trade wise in the face of this is risky, but you can do it with stops. You know, you just have to be smart about it. Not that that's financial advice, but
yeah,
we didn't NFA, did we? NFA.
Oh yeah. The closing thought I'll leave you guys with is as trading ranges mature, there's a tendency to ratchet up more and more leverage to make up for your losses earlier on in the trading range. And what I would really recommend to people that do not, that aren't very savvy with their risk management, is wait for a confirmation. And that confirmation can take whatever form, you know, whether it's Jack's megaphone dealio closing below, or you're looking at a B band's close on the upper or lower band, whatever. But the risk to reward is sometimes counterintuitive. And you can sometimes have a better risk to reward if you buy higher, because then you can have a tighter point of invalidation, which makes you take larger size. So, you know, just don't be in such a rush to basically flip a coin on a breakout, and just wait for higher confidence.
Yep, good call. Chat, I'm losing my voice here. Schmitty, what is your Twitch stream address? What is the URL?
My address, my public key is
okay.
I'll post it in chat. It's this.
All right, so he's gonna link it, guys. Next Market Power Hour will be in 2 weeks, and it will be on Schmitty's Twitch. So we're gonna all kind of alternate back and forth. So the first Wednesday will be here, second Wednesday, or third Wednesday will be there. And guys, that's it. We are 59 minutes into it. We promised under an hour. We actually did the impossible. So thank you all for being here. Josh, Schmitty, thanks for committing to do this. And chat, we will see you next time. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.